My name is Rachel Weaver, and I am from the south side of Chicago. My family, we are converts to the church, and I have always cared about activism and marginalized people coming from the south side. I just saw things that I felt were unfair, and it's always made me care about people. And so I feel like my role in whatever community I'm in, because I'm always moving, because I'm in college, is to just gather people together and make them feel loved, but also to help them to feel like some of the burdens that are placed upon them from social issues are lifted. I honestly haven't experienced a lot of like personal interactions where there has been like overt racism and brought to me kind of. I don't know how to phrase that. I haven't had any experiences with overt racism, but I feel like structurally I have experienced a lot of racism coming from Chicago. The schooling system is really unfair there for black and brown students. And so I feel like that was the biggest way I experienced institutionalized racism growing up. I honestly think for me, I think a lot of people focus on some of the negatives and I mean the hard things that come with being a black person, but I think it's beautiful being a black person. I think that is something that needs to be shared more often that we have our own culture. I literally come from people who had their culture stripped from them, but then when they were free, they made their own culture. Like they came up with it on their own, and that is what like black culture is in America. And I love that I get to be a part of that and celebrate that. And I'll be able to share it with my kids. And I don't know. I just really love that I come from people who were able to think of their own culture. And I love everything about Black culture from our hair to our music to the clothing and how influential we are in American culture. So I feel kind of how people in the church are really connected to the Mormon pioneers who crossed the plains. I feel that way about my ancestors. You know, they cry when they see what 12 Miracle, whatever that movie is, and I cry when I look at like a civil rights movement movie. I feel that they fought so hard to get me to where I am today. The fact that I'm at an all white, pretty much college is something that my ancestors fought for. And so it pushes me to continue to fight for other marginalized people, including Black people, LGBTQ people, anyone who's treated unfairly. I want to fight to help move them forward so that the next generation has it easier the same way that my ancestors fought for me. I think the biggest thing is educating yourself. Know that you need to take the time to learn about the disparities that are in the world and in America because they exist. Just because you came from a family that was middle class and you didn't see any overt racism doesn't mean that it doesn't exist and it isn't affecting people every single day. And so educating yourself so that you can know what systems you need to fight against. Because once you have the knowledge, you're able to actually know how you can be effective in changing other people's lives. I think people, my hope is that one day we can live in America in particular where people are able to come together and to celebrate our differences. I don't want our differences to be washed away. I think we should be proud of the different backgrounds and walks of life that we all come from, but also a place where people can have an equal playing field. Just seeing what I saw growing up and being at BYU has shown me that people are not given the same starting place in the race. And we need to fix that. And so everything that I'm doing in my life, my career is going to be focused around fixing that and making that line even for all people. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. So obviously that means that I believe that all people should be treated fairly and with love because we're all children of the same God. And for me, my ancestors also were very faithful people. They used their faith to help them to gather people. And so I try to do the same thing. I try to use my faith in Jesus Christ as a way to unite people who maybe wouldn't think the same or talk the same, but we both believe in Jesus Christ. And because of that, we should all be wanting to fight for people. And something I always say is if Jesus Christ were here right now, I know that he would be on the side of Black Lives Matter. I know he would because everything he taught, everything he did was to marginalize people. He taught to women in the scriptures. He taught to people who were widowed, just everyone who this society cast out, he taught to, he sought after. And so if you're a true disciple of Christ, you also will be for Black Lives Matter. I think the biggest thing is proximity. I really do think that a lot of white people, and particularly in the community I'm in right now, just don't have interactions with Black people. And so I don't think they need to necessarily seek them out because that's kind of weird. Don't be weird. But I think seeing opportunities that you can learn from someone who's different than you, don't shy away from those. If you have an opportunity to talk to a Black classmate or someone in your ward who doesn't look like you, take that opportunity and talk with that person, get to know their story, because the more we know people for who they are, I feel like the more likely people are to fight for the injustices that their whole community faces.